Hello everyone, Lore Master of Sotek here, and I just wanted to make a video to talk about the newest patch for Total War Warhammer 2, and likely one of the last patches, though of course we know that they started a beta, which is going into, is a public beta that you can opt into right now if you want to help out with that, but there were a couple of interesting things I wanted to talk about in this video just to kind of go over the changes and talk about some things I've noticed in the game. I'm also hoping, no, I know we're going to talk about this again during Lore Beards, which for those of you that want to catch the next episode of Lore Beards, it'll be live on Sunday at noon or 12 p.m. Central Standard Time if you want to catch us live. And of course, it'll be uploaded to YouTube and all of the various podcast websites afterwards if you don't manage to catch us live. But I did kind of want to talk about this because there were some things that, like I said, caught my interest, and I'm gonna actually have a couple of clips from in game in this video because I just kind of want to draw attention to some stuff in that CA made some fixes, but it seems like there were also some weird issues that were introduced because of the fixes. But like I said, we'll get into that. So real quick, the biggest general changes is that they have fixed the issue where chariots were basically just dominating like all the things. The melee chariots were just way overperforming. That has thankfully been fixed. So now you can use chariots again if you play in balanced multiplayer scenarios, or if you just like to play campaign and you prefer the game to actually be doing everything correctly, then that's fixed again. They've also made it where area of effect spells are affecting the groups they're supposed to be affecting. Apparently, there was essentially an issue where they were casting on units that were only partially within their aura, but like the main core of the unit was not, and some of them had even longer ranges, so that was a bizarre issue. It fixed another issue where wizards were double casting magic missiles. Thankfully, that's been taken care of. That is a super annoying bug. I know I've seen that a fair number of times, and it can be really frustrating, especially when you're going up against like fireballs and other things. Even the AI had the ability to spam that, and it could be pretty annoying for them to double shoot because you could just take a pretty significant amount of damage. Also, been some other minor fixes. For the Beastmen, there's been a good number of fixes, which are excellent. Probably the one I cared the most about personally is that they finally fixed Kazrak's bug, where Kazrak in his campaign is advertised as making Razorgore Chariot's Vanguard deployment, because the idea is that he makes all chariots Vanguard, so he's a very chariot heavy character, but it did not work. So they have fixed that, and now it does. I've tested it. They've also have it where if you decide to put Kazrak on a Tuskor chariot, he's actually able to use the various abilities that he has, because, you know, being a new mount, it had a couple of weird bug issues, and then they've made it where Morgur and Kazrak are not immortal factions if they are AI. Tarax has had some fixes. A big one that I definitely noticed when I was playing as him is that it was super annoying when you would attack a settlement. You'd raise it so that, you know, you'd get money or whatever, and then if you tried to switch to Juggernaut stance to get extra movement, it would instead get rid of all your movement. So that has been fixed, which is really nice. Another thing they've fixed, which may be unfortunate, depending on how you look at it, is there was a bug where you could very easily get infinite rampage, like way too easily. So that has been fixed, which I'm sure is a sad face for a couple of players that like cheesing really hard. But at the end of the day, like you can still chain your battles together very, very well. It's just not easily. It's you know, you kind of have to earn it legitimately, at least according to the fixes. Though I would not be terribly surprised if there's another way to maintain that infinite rampage, but we'll have to see. Then you know, they did some other minor fixes with Tarax. They fixed the Cannon Unleashed, which is nice, which is that's the tech where you need to summon multiple monsters. I think you have to do 10 summons, and it unlocks the tech, which gives you even more summons in battle. But it did have a bug where you could essentially accomplish it, and it wouldn't unlock. And it had some bizarre issues. They fixed some issues with the Blood Grounds. Also, Tuskor Chariot mounted heroes now count on hero cap for multiplayer, which is good if you play on quick battles. And then they fixed some Beastman co-op issues. For Oxiodal, they made his frequency of medium hard visions spawn much more often, which, I mean, that's good. It's still a very boring campaign. I still think that Oxiodal and Nakai both need a serious, deeper look. When it comes to Oxiodal, I really would recommend just go and watch like Mandalore's video as far as what they should do with it, where I think his idea, the way he expressed it, was Lizardman XCOM. I would really love for one day them to just take a big look at Oxiodal's campaign, make it where the downsides to failing his missions are significantly more dangerous, and just not, you know, make it where there's significant, you get missions more often. It's still a laughably pathetic campaign, and it really would take a deeper look, I think, to fix a lot of those issues. Nakai, they fixed it where his buildings are all working correctly and he can actually get skink oracles, which is nice. Still, you know, bad campaign, but at least it's not bugged as much. And then this is the thing that I'm actually going to be putting in some clips to show off, which is that they say they have made improvements to the Quaddle melee animations, which is true, but it is still a very, very janky unit. It's better when it's fighting against infantry and melee units that are on the ground. It is a super, super bizarre model when it is fighting in the air, and I'll just kind of throw in some clips here to show off some of its animations, where I think it has some new animations, but it looks decent now when it fights on the ground. But when fighting its flying units, all of its effects, as you'll see, still show up on the ground. It's still super awkward. This thing does not look like it was remotely ready to be released. As a random side note, I want to well, not a random side note, but a side note I want to include on the Quaddle. I think what makes it so weird is that there's no noise. Like, the Quaddle doesn't make any noise when it's attacking. It's shooting lightning, it shoots these little missiles out, it's like attacking, but it's not making any noise. When the dragon attacks, there's a lot of good audio. So, like, that attack has zero... I don't know what's going on with the Quaddle, but it just seems like it has zero sound design right now. If I get right on top of it, I can hear the lightning. But, I mean, you saw how janky a lot of those animations were. That move has good sound, but it seems like whenever it uses the lightning breath, or it shoots the little triple missile out, or it does the attack where it charges forwards with its wings and like slaps them together to create the dust cloud, it just isn't, it doesn't, I don't know what's wrong with the sound design, but something is seriously wrong with the sound design, and I think that adds to the jank. It's way too quiet. Someone, man, Quaddle just, yeah, really needs another look. Yeah, I mean, this thing's got some problems. Got some serious problems. And then the next one, which I'm super disappointed because they fixed this, because this was a bug. It was a bug, but it seems like they broke it instead of just fixing it, which is that according to this, they fixed a bug where the Skink Oracle on the Troglodon was firing a double volley of the Venom Spit whilst on the move. But the thing that I really, really liked about the Troglodon was that it shot while moving. So you didn't have to hold still to fire. You could shoot if you were holding still, but you could also shoot while running. It seems they've just completely removed that feature on the model. So now the Troglodon just doesn't shoot at all when it moves, which I don't know if that's intentional. By the wording on here, it seems like it's not intentional. So I really, really hope they fix that, because I really like the Troglodon, but the second I saw how the Troglodon performed, I felt very confident that they were gonna mess with it and just make it way worse. It's just one of those things where you're just like, oh, this is too fun and enjoyable, so inevitably it's gonna get tinkered with. Like I said, I don't know if that was the intention to just completely remove the ability to fire while moving, whether it's the writer or the Troglodon itself doing it, but I think they need to take another look at it, because to my understanding, it's supposed to still fire on the move, but it no longer does, which is a damn shame. I really like the ability to do that. It makes it a much more efficient piece when moving towards the enemy, because you kind of get a free shot in while you're moving forward. It also makes it significantly better when it's pursuing enemies, because it just doesn't have that much ammunition. Like, at the end of the day, the Troglodon doesn't have a lot of ammo, so it really shouldn't be that big of a deal for it to fire while moving, because once it's out of ammo, it's out, right? So I don't know. I just really hope they can take another whack at that, because I personally really, really liked that the Skink Oracle did stuff. One of my biggest griefs with the way Total War Warhammer as a series has been designed is that when you're dealing with monstrous writers, frequently the writer does not do anything. I really, really enjoyed that the Skink Oracle's up there looking like he's casting spells while also shooting out his own little missiles. I understand that the double fire was not intended, where you would see the wizard do a spell and it looked like the Troglodon fired a shot and the wizard fired a shot, and it was just obscene amounts of damage. And I understand that was definitely not intentional, but I hope they fix it where you could still fire whilst moving, whether it's just the Troglodon spitting while you move, or it's the Skink Oracle, unleashing a little bolt while they move. But please see a fix. And then they've made it where the Temple of the Old Ones ritual now gives you increased Skink Oracle capacity. I think that's a fantastic move, just to make that ritual a little better, and also to make it where getting new Skink Oracles is not such a massive pain in the butt. Because they're a very, very fun hero. Obviously, they're very strong because they come in on a monster, but it was a little too difficult to increase your capacity. So I think that's a great move. And then just some other little bug fixes where they basically just, made it where Grom's Final Battle works a little better, removed the duplicate White King button from UIs, and they fixed the unique White King you get if you start as Manfred von Karstein or Helmgorst. Kevin von Lloydstein was a character you could get, and they made it where he, fixed. And then they have this big old fascinating wall of text, which I'm not going to get super into, to be honest. I am hoping we will have a guest on Lorebeards to talk much more significantly about the cavalry beta, because this is literally just like hard data. This is the kind of I honestly wish the systems in Total War were all explained to this level if you went deep into like the encyclopedia. It doesn't need to be, you mouse over it, it tells me all of the explanations of how charges function. But to my understanding from some other creators I've watched, this information was basically hidden. So there was no way to know a lot of this until CA finally got around to detailing it to us with this patch. And I would really, really appreciate CA being this open with how features in the game work. I always hate when they just hide massive amounts of information as far as how the game operates, and like how the game calculates what's going to happen. That's not the kind of information that should be secret. And I understand the idea that, oh, well, the average fan does not need access to this information because it's just going to be gibbledygook and they would be confused, so we hide it. Like, I understand that from the perspective of when you mouse over the unit, this information should probably not be readily available just mousing around on your stats, because it's just a lot of information. But I do think they should really consider maybe updating the Total War Encyclopedia with a section that just deep dive math explains how everything in the game works. But if you want to know a lot more about how charging works, this is a really interesting read. And it basically also explains what's been going wrong with charging and cavalry in particular in Total War Warhammer. Basically, the TLDR was that certain types of, or basically infantry were just getting too good on the charge. When they would countercharge an enemy unit of cavalry, the infantry were functionally getting more attacks at the enemy cavalry than the cavalry were getting back. So because of that, the infantry were vastly overperforming on the charge, and it was just proving to be much more effective to countercharge cavalry and to never brace for impact, which is obviously bad and not what we want, because ideally it should be that you should be bracing for impact with most forms of infantry. I would not mind the idea of maybe introducing forms of infantry who specialize in countercharging, but that needs to kind of like be its own intentional thing. This system definitely was bad, and I'm not really sure exactly when this occurred, because it seemed like cavalry were functioning fine for a good long time, and then it was only in the last patch or two that they really started to have a lot of bizarre issues. But they talk about all of the tweaks they've done, and if you want to opt into the beta, you can. The only thing I would note as a warning about the beta is that for some reason they did them as two separate branches, which means they're two separate builds. So if you implement the beta, you will not have any of these changes from the actual base patch, because the base patch is now live. Like, you are automatically enrolled into this if your game is updated to normal. But if you go to the beta, you no longer have any of these changes. So the biggest issue with that is, of course, the chariot bug, especially for the multiplayer community. To my understanding, multiplayer is now playing with the base patch because the chariot issue is a bigger problem. But hopefully they will be able to get the beta patch where it has all of the updates from the regular patch, and then people can really go ham on testing the new collision system and the new charge system and make cavalry significantly better, and make it where they're performing the way they should be performing. So that is kind of what's been up on everything. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to make a video briefly talking about it. The main reason I wanted to talk about it was to kind of point out some issues with the Quotal still and my concern with the Skink Oracle. But other than that, I mean, it does look really good. It's a very modest patch, but it fixes a lot of really major issues. And once the cavalry stuff is good, we should be in a pretty happy state. I am, like, I think many people, hoping that there's some kind of secret legendary lord hidden away that maybe will come out with all of this, is my hope. I would very much like to see maybe the Red Duke become playable or something. I don't know. But, or maybe the Red Duke and Boris finally become playable. But we'll see what happens. I'm not crossing my fingers. I am hoping for something, but I'm expecting nothing, because that is just the safest way to live when it comes to situations like this. Obviously, we're kind of in a weird spot right now with Total War, as we're waiting for Cathay news for Total War Warhammer 3, which is something I'll be talking extensively about over the course of this week. And you know, trying to figure out when exactly is the cutoff time for Total War Warhammer 2, but we won't really have a good idea for that until 3 has a release date announced, which, if we don't get a release date by the end of September, then frankly, or with the Cathay announcement, essentially, then I'm just not expecting a release date this year, which is something I'll talk more about in another video. So thank you all for watching. Don't forget to check this out so you can learn how to opt into the Cavalry beta if you would like. And I hope you all have a lovely day, and I'll be seeing you around for more content soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.